Jamar Chase is expected to miss extended time due to that hip injury. So where do the Bengals go at wide receiver now? Let's discuss trade deadline options, free agent options, and more right here on CBT, Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com, rocking my Rivertown Inquiry CBT polo. Make sure you get to rivertowninquiry.com now. Doug and his team do an awesome job. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you can get the latest news, including the Jamar Chase nightmare. Let's be honest. It is. And I know some people said, oh, well, he's not their best player. Well, fine. If he's not their best player, he's their second best player behind Burrow. Regardless, I'm not here to debate that. The point is the Bengals offense is going to look much, much different regardless of who they bring in. But it's not just Chase. Stanley Morgan Jr. battling a hamstring injury. I think the Bengals are going to add someone. Who do they add? And do they go the trade route? Do they go the free agent route? Naturally, the free agent route is most likely. And let's start there. Because to me, there just isn't much out there. You know, Odell Beckham Jr. is the name that's going to come to mind for a lot of people. I'm actually going to do a separate video on that on Friday. It's going to be posted right here on this channel because that's more in depth and it takes more than 10 seconds to discuss. And I will talk about the pros and cons of that potential route. That being said, T.Y. Hilton, John Ross, Auden Tate, who's on a practice squad right now, Will Fuller, D.D. Westbrook, all some names that come to mind. Of that group, you would certainly say Will Fuller's the most established and youngest and fits the bill. But I wonder why he's not in the NFL right now. And that's the part that scares me. You know, outside looking, why is he just not working out? Does he not want to play anymore? Did he get paid by Miami last year and he's using that first round money and he's doing, see ya? Or are teams scared off by his injuries? Because he's talented enough to be on a practice squad. So that's the part of it that is weird to me. But certainly on paper, that's a guy that I would certainly be interested in. Because the Bengals, they're not going to replace Jamar Chase, but they could add some speed. Right? And speed can be the ultimate equalizer where you get a guy that can go out there, run 5 go routes a game, keep the defense honest, and hold down the fort a bit in that department alongside T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Because it's not like they don't have good receivers in T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, but you're missing that other deep element that can put fear in defenses, which is something we've talked about. You know, if any of the big three get injured, who replaces them? Well, now we're going to see. Now we're going to find out. But let's talk about the trade market because the trade deadline is on Tuesday, 4 o'clock, just over what? It's going to be literally 16 hours after the Bengals leave First Energy Stadium, either with a win or a loss on Monday Night Football. So they're doing their homework now. They need to do their homework now, and they need to look at every option, exhaust every option. You know why? Because they're contenders, and that's what contending teams should do. I've heard some say, oh, they're going to be fine. You know, they still have... No, you can never have enough weapons. I think they should have been in the wide receiver 4 market pre-Jamar Chase injury because things like this happen, right? And so who could they trade for? Well, I think Denzel Mims makes a lot of sense. He's kind of out of the rotation with the Jets. He's someone the Bengals liked pre-draft and had him below T. Higgins in the 2020 draft, which is why they took T naturally. But Denzel Mims was probably the other candidate there, I would say, to get picked. They just had T. Higgins' first-round grade. They just didn't expect him to be there, and then they were ecstatic when he was there at 33. But Mims was a guy that was certainly a contender for that. Hasn't produced with the Jets for a variety of reasons. Certainly someone I could see them going after. Kendrick Bourne is another player that would make a lot of sense. Certainly someone who can stretch the field a bit, has done so in New England, has done so for the 49ers in the past, is a veteran, and someone that I would mention on the list. Other names. Marquez Callaway is certainly a name I would throw out there. Notice how I didn't start with the big names. I will get to them, though, and I probably should have. You know, Jerry Jeudy's going to get tossed out there, and that is a big name rookie contract. I don't think the Broncos are going to part with a former first rounder for nothing. I think it's going to be a lot to get a guy like Jerry Jeudy who, man, coming into that draft and certainly coming out of it, you thought that he might be the best receiver in that draft. Obviously, Justin Jefferson has changed that. T. Higgins has certainly changed that. You know, there's other guys that have emerged. But Jerry Jeudy, really, really talented player. and still on a rookie deal. So I don't know about that. But you know the guy that I would call the Broncos about? What about KJ Hamler? Speedster, rookie contract, certainly someone that if you could get him could work alongside Chase when he comes back, but could give you that speed element, that make you miss element on offense that you want alongside Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins as you try to make this playoff push over the next few weeks and months. Because that's the other thing. We don't truly know how long Chase is going to be out, 4 to 6 weeks. But from what I've been told is he's dealing with a fracture in his hip and they need that bone to heal. He feels fine, right? I'm sure he could play Monday, right? From a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, pain tolerance standpoint. And Paul Dehner Jr. did a great job at explaining all of this. But once I was hosting a radio show when this news broke. Once I was able to get my head around it and start reaching out and you send out some texts, it's like, oh, okay, so this is what they're waiting on. So it's a unique injury. So you just don't know the timetable fully yet. And so that's why making a deal, making a trade makes sense. Giving up a future asset with Joe Burrow on a rookie contract, Jamar Chase on a rookie contract, T. Higgins on a rookie contract, this defense, which has been really, really solid all year long, this is the window. This is the time to add. Much like the Chiefs did with Kadarius Toney, this is the time to add other names that certainly make sense. DJ Moore. I don't know how they'll make it work with $3 million in cap space. I don't know exactly how it would work. I don't know if Carolina would be interested in Jesse Bates, right, to make it work salary-wise. I don't know. And I'm not saying that's an option because I don't think the Bengals would do that. That's very splashy. But DJ Moore could do not what Chase does, but he could do a lot of what Chase does. And so do you make a call there? Do you show interest in Elijah Moore from the Jets, who's been floated around and requested a trade? I don't think that would happen, but certainly someone that I would throw out there. I know Terrace Marshall with LSU ties has been thrown out there, and that would be interesting with Carolina. Could you get him? Former second rounder. I'm sure they scouted him plenty when they were watching Chase film. You ask Burrow about him and see. Another name that I think would be interesting from the Giants, Darius Slayton, kind of lost in the shuffle there. And you remember the days of Kenny Galladay, DEY day, when he was a free agent and wanted to come to Cincinnati because his market just wasn't there, and then the Giants paid him a lot of money, and it just hasn't worked there in New York. If the Giants are willing to pay his entire salary, essentially, and eat that money to get a future pick for him, maybe. I think that's really unlikely, but maybe that works. If you're not paying for it, if there's not much there and you're just giving up a late pick, as I kick the camera, if you're just giving up a late pick for him, it makes a ton of sense. So I think that is extremely unlikely of the list of guys that I've mentioned. But that's pretty much it. Brandon Cooks is another guy, but he's got 2 more years left on his contract. And that's the other part of it, is if you trade for a guy like that, well, they extended him through 2023 and 2024. So on one hand, at least you have him. On the other hand, where you want to pay some guys in that time. And so that's the part of it, the balance that the Bengals are going to have to figure out. But there's no doubt in my mind that they need to add someone. And maybe it'll be one of these guys I named, whether it's T.Y. Hilton. I think that's unlikely. John Ross is unlikely. A reunion with him. Auden Tate, unlikely. But maybe it's a Will Fuller. Maybe it's a D.D. Westbrook. And I don't think D.D. Westbrook really does much for me, because does much for me is in the sense of I think it's going to have an impact on this Bengals offense. I think he's a slot receiver, a possession receiver. You don't need that. You need a guy who can play outside. So Kendrick Bourne, more interested in. Denzel Mims, Marquez Callaway, KJ Hamler, speedster that could take the top off of a defense. Terrace Marshall, certainly. Darius Slayton, certainly. Marquez Callaway, even. So there are guys like that. And then the big guns, of course. I'm going to say yes to DJ Moore, Brandon Cooks, Jerry Jeudy. Who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't be interested? So it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens there. I'll throw another name at you. What about Marvin Jones? Reunion time. He's played pretty well. And it's not like you need him for a ton longer. He's in the final year of his contract with the Jaguars. Just another name I'll throw out there. So if you're looking for the Odell Beckham Jr. video, posting that shortly right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk, because I think that deserves a few minutes, and I didn't want to bury all these other names, all these other receivers and potential options with Odell Beckham Jr. talk. So make sure you get to rivertowninquiry.com because, man, this polo, it's nice and comfortable. And this logo, man, I love it. And look, they have so many different things. You can't get this polo there. You can't. This right now is a CBT exclusive. So if you want them, well, maybe leave it in the comments because maybe we can get those rolling. We're working on some CBT gear, though. I know Andrew Fox Miller, our channel coordinator, wants some hats. But the point is, Rivertown Inquiry does great work. We use them game day, every day, and you should check out everything that they have there, from t-shirts to hoodies with the weather changing, Tiger Rocks glasses, pint glasses. They have it all. So get there now, rivertowninquiry.com. And for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien, signing off for now on CBT, Cincinnati Bengals Talk.